4 times. And here we are at Borderlands number 43. Do any of you remember the original Borderlands, the first one? Anybody here? No. Is there anybody here who remembers the first Super Bowl? I guess I'm older than I should be. There's a resemblance between the Super Bowl and Borderlands. And that resemblance is that in both cases, they didn't have a number. It was just Super Bowl. It's only the next year it became Super Bowl II, right? And Borderlands was also, I guess they weren't quite sure if there was going to be a number 2 or 43. But it's always a pleasure to be here and included in the Texas Poetry Review. For almost all my life, I've resisted writing haiku for all the right reasons. But recently I fell off the wagon, and Ryan took a handful of these for this issue of Borderlands. So these are called Lone Star Haiku. It's an 8-page poem, but Ryan said no, enough. And we can only get them on 1 page. Each of these haiku has a title. Near Rockport. Oil donkeys pumping a stubble field, sandhill cranes are grazing. Enchanted Rock. Asleep on my own right hand, something winging above the bare dome. Escadero. Tumbleweed stumbling over tumble-down stones. Galveston Island. The faster the dachshund's legs, the longer the heron's stride into flight. I had a dachshund that loved to chase great blue herons. Herons always won. Bee cave. No bees hum here, only Galleria neon, microwave towers. Austin. Bats blanketing the dark river, spiral up lit buildings. I'll just read one more from from an earlier issue of Borderlands, closer to the origin. It's called Ode to a Toaster, and I was trying to imitate Neruda's great odes in those very narrow lines, right, which work really wonderfully well in Spanish, where there's so many vowel sounds that provide an immediate music, but I think it's a little more difficult in English. So I gave it a try, and most of Neruda's odes are about organic things like lemons and garlic and salt. Mine is called Ode to a Toaster. Ode to a Toaster. It's not true Edison invented you before the light bulb. Though, who knows? Thermodiffusion, as from a switched coil, is less complex than incandescence, if less ancient than fire. You were my first gift to myself, costing not less than twice what you now do. And yet, I have lived without your apple-cheeked kind going on 30 years. Now my father is dead. I will say he never knowingly told a lie, though he spoke sometimes of Edison as his contemporary, promoting for 30 years the power and light's electrification of rural America, and from time to time of you as the world's first small appliance. He kept, after my mother died, their old GE 4-slicer, a fire hazard with its worn cloth cord taped all the way down to its antique unsealed plug, but which still turned each slice a just brown right to the end when I gave it to Goodwill, along with his ready kilowatt tie clasp and matching cufflinks, things which had come to seem too odd to go on finding places for, as is the way, perhaps, with radiance and the things it raises to the power of air